Hello, my name is Kane Peterson, and I want to spend a few minutes showing you how to use WebCaptioner and TriCaster together. WebCaptioner is a program that actually runs in a web browser that I've told a few people about, and it's pretty cool, but often the next question I get after I tell people about it is, well, how do you make this all work? How do you get TriCaster and it working together? So that's what I want to spend here, is just kind of show so that other people can see how to do this and follow along, hopefully. What you need to make it to work the way I'm going to show here, and I'm not saying this is the only way to make it work, but I'm going for the 100% NDI workflow. So I am going to take the output of my TriCaster, feed it via NDI into WebCaptioner, and then take the WebCaptioner output via NDI back into the TriCaster. So that's what we're going for here. So besides the TriCaster, you need a computer that's going to run the WebCaptioner software. You also need NDI tools, which you'll install on the WebCaptioner software system. And then there's one additional piece of software you need called NDI Transmit. This one is not free. It is not terribly expensive. So if you want to go this route, you will need that. You'll install that as well on the WebCaptioner system. And once you have all those pieces, we're kind of ready to get started. And there, by the way, there is a demo version of NDI Transmit you can download. So I would suggest downloading the demo version, trying that out, making sure this all works to your needs before you go buy anything. And then if it is, you can buy the NDI Transmit and you're ready to go. Okay, so first thing is, let's get WebCaptioner into the TriCaster. So we're going to jump over to my WebCaptioner system. Now, I already have the WebCaptioner web page up, which is webcaptioner.com. But I want to share this out. So I've already started the NDI scan converter software, which once you run it, appears down in the corner by your clock. It's a little kind of orangey NDI icon, and you right click on it, and in the window that pops up it will show you all the things you can share out. In our case, we just want to share the entire screen that my Chrome browser is running on. And by the way, you have to be running Chrome, by the way, if you're not aware of that, because that is required for WebCaptioner to operate. So that's running on my desktop one, so I'm sharing that. And so now that that's being shared, I'm going to go back to my TriCaster, and I'm going to bring that in under input 2 on my system. So here's input 2. It's empty right now, so I'm going to click the gear under it, go to my input settings, and where it says source, go in there and find my my laptop, which happens to be right here, and there's desktop 1. I'm going to select it, and there you go. Now I happen to have desktop, that desktop of the computer showing up inside my TriCaster. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to get the correct audio out of my TriCaster into the WebCaptioner software. And so if you take a look at my audio mixer, I'm going to be using a TriCaster audio mixer to do this. You'll notice I've got my audio from my microphone coming in on input 1. I've got some other audio coming in, and I'm just playing some stuff in my DDRs to show some background noise, or maybe it's music or audio I don't want, effectively. And then if we go way over to the side here, you can see my 4 audio mixes coming out of my TriCaster. You'll see that right now they're all set to the same thing, which is a mix of everything. So what I want to do is I want to get strictly my audio only on one of these outputs and not have any of the other, sound in there as well. So that way I get a clean audio feed that has no music, no background audio, no sound effects or anything like that in there. It might be more than one person talking, but it's strictly just the voice of them talking is what I want. So the way we can do this is we're going to choose one of our audio outputs. So we've got a master and 3 auxes. Pick any one of them. I'm going to pick aux 3. All right, I just like to kind of use the last one here. So aux 3 is going to be our chosen mix. And so what we want to do then is we want to go to any channel of audio that we do not want. All right, I don't want these 2 DDRs in the final mix. So I'm going to go to those DDRs. I'm going to click the audio slider gear, and in the window that opens up, if you're not on the routing tab, just go to the routing tab, and there are your 4 audio mixes. Go to aux 3 and hit clear, and then do the same thing for anything else. I'm going to do that for my DDR2 in here and click clear on there. So now I have removed that audio from aux 3, and if we go and take a look now down there, you can see that aux3 doesn't look the same as the other ones, right? Because it's only the audio of my microphone that happens to be showing up in there. In fact, I'll be quiet for a second, and you can see that it'll be very low. There you go. Now, there's a little bit of noise in there. That's just the fans and stuff that happen to be next to me. But you can see that it does not have any of that other sound in there that's normally playing. So now that we have our audio mix created, we need to send that audio mix out of the TriCaster so that we can pull it up in another application. So to do that, we're going to go to the gear under our program window here. Click on that, and in this window that appears, you'll see my 4 audio mixes, mix 1 through 4, and then you can see what audio is assigned to those. So I'm going to pick the last one in my case, mix 4. Again, you can pick any one that you want, but we'll use mix 4. And under audio, instead of it being master audio, I want to click on that, and under my audio, so I want to choose aux3 because that's the special audio channel I created that's only got my audio in it. And now that 4th output of my TriCaster system has just my audio on it. If I actually plugged in an SDI cable to the 4th output, I would only hear my audio. In this case, the NDI audio that's also coming out the 4th output also only has my audio on it. So now the TriCaster's outputting what we need, and we're ready to go back over to WebCaptioner and pull that into the system. So we're back over in WebCaptioner. And now we need to tell NDI transmit that what we want it to pull in so that we're getting the appropriate signal brought in from the TriCaster. So NDI transmit, which I've already started up, and again, you're just going to run it. And when you do, it's going to appear as an icon down by your clock. In this case, it is the yellowish style NDI icon you can see in there. Right-click on that, and in this list, and I'll admit my list is very long because I have a lot of sources out of my NDI network, you're going to go find the output that you assign that audio to on there. So in my case, my system's called VMC1. I put it on the 4th mix output, if you remember in that window, and I already have it selected, but I would just go in as a list and click on the one that would be the appropriate selection in there. So now I've got the audio selected, and here's one last little tip that you might want to do as well. If you go back into NDI transmit, and normally it's not scrolled off, but I have so many inputs it is, just scroll down to the bottom, and where it says audio, there are audio adjustments you can do. So this is that audio feed coming in, and I've just found that if I bump it up a little bit higher, and this might depend upon who is speaking and just audio levels, and how audio is set in the TriCaster for your production versus your stream versus what's going over here. But nonetheless, the nice thing is I can kind of adjust this as necessary. I found for me that bumping this up a little bit helps with getting the right audio level into WebCaptioner so that it can pick up my voice really well. So I've having it plus 12, but again, you can play that with that as necessary to get the appropriate levels you need. All right, so now we're ready to start up WebCaptioner and make it do what we want it to do. So I'm going to go into the WebCaptioner. I'm going to hit Get Started. Down here where it says Start Captioning, the first thing is I might want to configure it slightly. So I'll click the arrow, and where it says Appearance, this is where I can adjust some of the settings. Do I want it on a green background or not? What do I want the font? All these settings, you can go and play with this. But in my case, I don't want to key it, right? I just want to have this kind of on a black background. I think that's going to work better for my needs. So I'm going to go in here and turn off the Make Transparent. But if we wanted to, we could use the TriCaster keyer to knock that out as well. And so, oops, I forgot to accept that, I think. Save, there we go. And so now I'm ready to start the software and get it using my audio. So you might not see this next icon you need until you click the Start Captioning button. So I'm going to click Start Captioning, and it says now listening, but it doesn't hear anything because I haven't connected it to the right audio source yet. But now that I've started this, you'll see up at the top of my interface, there is a little icon that looks like a camera. Click on that, and in the window that pops up, you can hit Manage, and this will allow you to go in and configure the proper audio source that you want the Chrome web browser to use, which in turn is the audio source WebCaptioner has access to. So right at the very top where it says default microphone, I'm going to click on that, and you want to choose the one called Line NewTek NDI Audio. And when you select that, that is the audio output of NDI transmit, which is then going to feed that audio in. So I'm going to select that and exit out here, and we'll close it in. And if everything's working, you can start to see audio appearing in WebCaptioner, right? It's reading the audio of what I'm saying. Obviously, the how accurate it is all dependent on how well you speak and levels and all that. So you might tweak this till you find some good levels for your needs. But now that we've got that, we can go back into the TriCaster. You'll see the audio coming in on input 2, or I'm sorry, the text coming in on input 2. And now we want to overlay that on my output. So I'm going to use a downstream keyer to make that happen. So in my case, I'm going to go, let me just reset this so it's all fresh. I'm going to use one of my downstream keyers. I'm going to use downstream keyer 1, the first one here, and you're just going to click on the drop down, choose the appropriate input that you want. In my case, I'm going to use input 2, which happens to be the input that the text is coming in on. And now I can turn it on. And when I do that, you can see that right now the downstream keyer is completely overlaying the entire screen, right? And so I only want a portion of this text, maybe a couple of lines, and I want to position it. So we'll go into our positioner tools. And in here, we can now go to edges. We'll start by cropping this out. So I'm going to crop the top down until I get to about 3 lines of text. I'm going to crop the bottom to get rid of the other Chrome web browser stuff. I'm also just going to crop just a tiny bit off the left and the right sides, just in case there's any edging of the Chrome web browser. I just don't want to see that. And then we can position this where we want. So I want to zoom this down a little bit so it fits a little better. Maybe move it down close to the bottom of my screen. Of course, you could turn on Save Title, Save Action, and all that kind of stuff. I could crop it more or less depending upon if I want more lines of text or fewer lines of text. But you get the idea of what you're looking for in there. If you were going to key it, if it had a green background, you would just go into input 2, click the gear, go to your live mat, and you could select the key color so you could knock the green out if that's what you were looking for in there as well. Here's one other little tip that you can also do. You can see the text on the screen. Maybe I'd like it to be a little bit transparent, and this doesn't appear to be an obvious thing you can do, but it is possible. Select the downstream keyer, just click its image, make sure your transition is set as a dissolve, and then using this you can grab your T-bar, and by moving that I can kind of set the amount of dissolve I want in there. So I'll make it where it's a little bit transparent but still enough that I can see it well, and when you're done just click back onto the main background delegate, and then it will operate like it should. And now you can see I've got my text on the screen. It's got a little bit of transparency so I can still see what's happening underneath, but it's still very readable at the same time. And I now have open captions overlaid on my TriCaster output using NDI to get everything in and out of both of these systems. Thank you.